Welcome to our first State Conference Rewind webinar. This fall, we are going to highlight a few of our State Conference presentations from this past year. So if you attended the State Conference and ended up having to pick a different session, you get a chance to pick the ones that you weren't able to attend. And if you haven't been to the State Conference before, this is a chance to see what the conference is all about. And we are all very excited for the turnout today. This is turning out to be probably our most attended webinar if everyone who registered is here. So I'm very excited for that today. Our first one is a double feature on Microsoft Excel presented by Jeff Lee. In 1983, Jeff started working in the assessment field as a part-time summer help at the Avon Township Assessor's office in Lake County. He inspected properties, measuring homes, taking pictures with a Polaroid Instamatic Samara, which I have no idea what that is. In 1985, he became a full-time employee. He achieved his CIAO certification in 1986. In 1990, Jeff jumped the fence to work for a real estate tax consulting firm. There, he worked nationally on commercial and industrial properties, reviewing assessments, filing appeals, and reviewing tax bills. Then, in 1997, Jeff again jumped the fence to become the commercial deputy assessor for Warren Township in Lake County. Some of the properties he appraised were Gurney Mills and Great America. In 2005, he became assessor for Lake Villa Township in Lake County. He oversaw the implementation of a CAMA system, the inspection and remeasuring the entire township, and the modernization of the office. Jeff has been very involved in the Lake County Township Assessors Association, holding leadership positions as a CAMA chairperson, vice president, and president of the association, which is a position he currently holds. Jeff was also awarded the Marshall Thoreau Memorial Award in 2024. What's not also listed on this bio is Jeff is well known as being an Excel wizard, which he will show you all today. So, I had to definitely raise the bar for you to meet that expectation here, Jeff. So everyone, please welcome Jeff Lee.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us today. That introduction seems kind of lofty. Do I have to live up to all those expectations still? Great. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. I'm going to show you some basics. We'll go over the basics of Excel, and then try to get in some charts and do some graphing and all kinds of fun stuff. First thing I want to show you is that I am an Excel. Can you read that? Freak in the sheets, coffee mug. So I do love my Excel spreadsheets. I do a lot of things with them. And I think that it's a very powerful tool that if you become familiar with it, you can take off with this and really do some fun things with your data and with everything that we have here. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen.
And while Jeff is sharing the screen, I put the PowerPoint presentation for the first part in the chat for you all to reference. I'll put the second presentation in the chat when we get to that in an hour or so. And I also just wanted to let you all know, if you've got questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. Just because we've got so many of you with us today, we're going to have you muted throughout the presentation just because we want to make sure we stay on track. But go ahead, put your questions in the chat. We'll answer those as those come up. And if we've got time at the end, we'll open it up to more questions as well.
So is everybody seeing my screen, the Excel spreadsheet? Okay, great. So we're going to start off by going over all these the main titles here. I'm going to go over here and start by file. I found this cute little way to make your mouse do this circular thing by pressing the control key. So we're going to go to file, and we're going to go down here to options, down here at the bottom. A couple things I wanted to show you. Obviously, you can set your defaults here, some of your Arial's default fonts and things like that. You can set your default save file location. So where do you want your files to be saved at as a default? The other thing is data up here. Sometimes you import data from other sources. I know that I do that for my Maps Online program, Esri program. I can get a spreadsheet, a CVS file, and sometimes it removes the leading zeros and converts it to a number. So if that box is checked, and I know that all my parcel numbers begin with O1 or O6 or something like that, it's going to remove that leading zero. So you want to uncheck that box so that you get that leading zero. So for those townships who have that, you want to remove that leading zero. And that's actually probably a good thing to have all the time. Um, the other thing you can access here is the quick access toolbar. I'm going to just cancel out of this real quick and show you that this is my quick access toolbar. This is my shortcuts for the commands that I use the most frequently. And you can customize this to your own use. And actually, if you want this, after we talk about it, I can send you my quick access toolbar so you can upload it into and use it as your own. So there's so many different ways you can get into it. But I'm going to go back here to File, and then we'll go back down here to Options, and then we're going to go to Quick Access Toolbar. And you can see that all of these things are on here now. This is my access bar. So, but there are so many more commands that you could add. So these are all the different commands that you could add and then customize your own quick access toolbar. Let me see if I can find, let's go to all commands. I don't even know that's just probably a big problem because there's so many of them. Let's go to auto column width, see if it's here. Clear, column width, column converts column width. So I don't have that in my quick access toolbar now. So I want to click that and I'm going to add. You already have this. Oh, I guess I already have it on my quick access toolbar. Somewhere, oh, right there. So I do have that. So if I wanted to, let's say, remove that, I can remove that. So I'm going to go back and go ahead and hit add it again. And then I'm going to move it up just one, just to show you that you can reorder these things. And also you can put these separators in here also, so that you can kind of have some separation between the commands. Now, if you want to import or export your quick access toolbar, this is the spot to do it right here. So if you wanted to import it, if I sent this to you, you would save it on your computer and then you would point to it and then click open. Okay. You have to save it, you download it from the email, save it to your computer, then point to it and upload it. So that's how you can use the quick access toolbar. I find that to be extremely helpful because I can never remember all of the different commands that are up here and where they're all located. So these are the ones I use the most. And if you hold over them, you can see that this one, it'll tell you what it does. It creates a new document. This one is my print button and, setting borders, clearing formats, in spell checking. Here's my column widths. I want to set my column widths. So these are all the commands that I use the most frequently. So that's really, really, really helpful. So let's go through the home command now. Obviously, you have the copy and paste. Here's where you do your formatting for your fonts and your sizes, bold, italicize, and this is some borders settings you have, the fill options, and the font colors. Here's where you can justify your data. You can center it. So I'm going to click here and click the center button right there. And so now it's centered, that data field. If I want to go back and left justify it, just click that button there. This is for a wrap text if you have a long set of text. This one here is to merge and center. Merge and center. This is something that you can use for your titles. So I'm going to go click up here, and I have this all merged as one cell. So now if I click the unmerge button and I click the left justify, it's only in this one cell. So this is the way to center a title over on your page. So merge and center. So it puts it right in the middle of your nice heading for your spreadsheet. Here's your formatting information over here. My control button didn't work, so you can select your different formatting functions. The general, the numbers, currency, accounting. Conditional formatting, we're going to talk about quite a bit right here. Formatting is a table we'll be talking about. Here's where you insert and delete rows and your formatting changes. Again, there's so many different ways to do format the commands for Excel. You can hit this format button. I've got it as a quick button over here, or if you right click on things, you got format cells down here. It's all the same thing. So if you click that drop down arrow, here are your choices. And then you've got some quick functions here for summing things up or searching, and some other great things over here. I want to come back over to this and show you the paste button. Obviously, you're going to paste the formatting. If you want to, let's just change the color here to, let's just make it red. I want to paste this formatting, this red color, over to this cell here, the D6. I click the paste button and then click the one cell. So it centered it, and it took the color too. But now what happens if you want to do multiple cells? Let's say we want to make this a number with some commas in it. So I'm going to highlight this cell. I'm going to come up here and click my quick access button here for formatting. And I'm going to say I want a number. I don't want any decimal places, but I do want a comma. So I've got that now as a comma, but I want to format other cells like that too. So if you double click this button, you can click multiple cells and it will go through and change the format on multiple cells. And you press escape to get out of that. So to double click, it says it right here if you hold over it. To apply the formatting in a multiple places, double click the format painter. So if you kind of hover over these things, it gives you a little bit of description of what's happening with each of these commands. But that's a real handy command also. Okay. Row column. I'm going to show you this real quick. I'm going to go over here to format, and I'm going to show you that you can hide rows and columns. Hide column, hide row, hide column. I can hide a sheet, or then you can unhide things. So I'm going to hide the row 19. That's what I've got set right now, just to show you how it works. Hide row. So it's there, but it's not there. The function hasn't gone away. We're just not displaying it. And that can be helpful when you're printing things. You want to eliminate some of the calculations that you're doing in the background and just pretty up your spreadsheet. So I'm going to go back here to format. And I'm going to go to hide, unhide, and I'm going to click unhide rows. And it brings it back. All right. So moving on along the tabs on the top here, the command tabs on the top. Insert is a real powerful command that we're going to be getting into a little bit later on, where you can insert a pivot table, and you can insert charts and all kinds of slicers and text items. This is a real fun one to use. We're going to be getting into charts, obviously, and we're going to be using a pivot table on the last part of the day today. Drawing, I really don't use too much. Page layout is very important, where you can set your margins. You can change your orientation from portrait to landscape, the size of your paper, and setting your print area is very important. So you'll get just the areas that you want to print. Some of the things here, let's go to print title, see what it does. So this opens up let's go back. I hit the print titles button. It's opened up a whole page setup dialog box. You can also get there by just hitting this little button at the bottom here. So what this does is it kind of gives you all the commands in one spot. First, you tell it whether portrait, landscape. You can scale it. You can shrink it to fit to 1 page long by 6 pages tall, however it works out, or you can adjust it by a percentage. That's really handy when you have a long spreadsheet. You want to condense it so that it all fits on 1 page. You can set your margins over here. You can toggle the buttons just by clicking on them. clicking on them here. Setting your headers and footers. So footers, you can do a custom footer. Let's click on that. And you can do insert page number, insert page number. I'm going to click that button here. And then I'm going to put a space in here. I'll put the word of. And then this one here is number of pages. Hover over that, insert the number of pages. So it'll give you page 1 of 6. So you can put the page numbers on your printing. So that's kind of helpful also. You know what else is kind of helpful too is the sheet name. I think the file name. You can insert the file name and you can insert the path so that you know where this file is saved at. So you can go back and say, where in the heck did I save that file again? And possibly find it. Okay, so those are some of the options there. Here's where you can assign the print area. And if you have a sheet that has multiple pages, you can repeat rows at the top. So if you wanted to repeat this, add or remove dashes from a pin, you could assign that. Click this little arrow here, and I want to highlight row 1 to repeat at the top of every page. So let's do a print area here. I'm just going to kind of grab this, and I'm just going to grab a whole bunch of pages and assign a print area to it. If I go print preview down here, so here's my first page with actual data. But if I go down here and click page 2, see where it says 2 of 4, we put that in there, and then my header is coming up on top. This is repeating at the top of every page. This is page 3, and this is page 4. So just to kind of give you a little demonstration on how that works, I'm going to go hit this little back arrow here and jump back into my screen. This is also an interesting tool here. If you go to this name box, you can actually navigate. I want to go back up to cell A1. So I'm going to type in A1 and press my enter button, and it jumps me back up to the top. You can actually use that to go any place on your spreadsheet if you want to navigate quickly to that. All right, let's see, home tab, format styles. Let's go back to the home page. There's this button here, cell styles. I'm not real familiar with it, but you can do some things with it. It will give you some pre-made formats that you can use on your spreadsheet. So if you want to change something quickly, you can. If you want to change something to a percent or a comma with 0 spaces, you can actually save a cell style down here. So there's pre-made cell styles that you can use to pretty up your spreadsheets should you want to. We're going to be talking about conditional formatting. This is a great, powerful feature that you can highlight different things that are greater than or less than, and all kinds of crazy things you can do with conditional formatting that really make your data real fun, easy to work with. Formatting is a table we'll be talking about a little bit. Inserting and deleting rows, formatting cells. I think we copied touched on everything on the home tab. Page layout, we're actually all past that already. All right. So now we're coming over to the formulas tab. There are so many formulas in Excel. It's unbelievable. But the thing that I don't like is they don't have the, well, let's go to hit more functions. The statistical, the one that we would use the most is not one of these easy choices. So if you use the statistical tab, obviously you're going to find your deviations, your averages, and so much more. Your counts of parcels, mean, median, min, max, all kinds of functions, the statistical functions that we use on a real common basis for the work that we do. Obviously computing medians and min, max, means, all that kind of stuff is in here. So much stuff. I don't know what it all does either. I mean, there's 3 things for standard deviation. So you just kind of click on it, and it'll tell you hold your cursor over it, and it'll determines the standard deviation based on the entire population. And what does this one do? From estimates the standard deviation based on a sample, ignores logical values and text in a sample. So there's a little bit of difference in some of these functions. You just got to be aware of what you're doing. Okay, let's go over to formulas. If you actually click these functions here, I mean, it's got everything that you want. You say all functions, and there's just hundreds of them. Just hundreds of them. So you can click that function index. You can click most recently used. I use this very commonly. The round feature, the aggregate subtotals we'll be talking about, median, work days, standard deviations. Those are the ones I've used the most frequently that's populating this list. And again, I use statistical quite a bit, and I'll use date and time quite a bit. Those are the ones I use mostly. But you can see there's all kinds of the general tabs that you can use. Cancel that. All right. Let's move over to the data tab. And we get a lot of data from this. We get a lot of data from this. I use this quite a bit. There's so many functions. Obviously, the sort is very powerful. Filtering is very powerful. We're going to be talking about that. Text to columns is something I use quite frequently. What's this one over here? Consolidate. There's all kinds of little features. Flash fill. Oops. You kind of hover over. Remove duplicates is something I use quite a bit. Outline is something that we can find subtotals on. There is a way to convert data, and I forgot to test this today. I wonder if I can still do this. We're going to convert the data from a PDF to an Excel spreadsheet. Let's say get data, and we're going to get it from a file. We're going to get it from a PDF. And it was a PTEL document. So it's looking for it. Hang on a second. I forgot to test this one. Oh, there it is, CPI history. So this is a PDF, and we're going to import it and convert it into a Excel document, so I can work with the numbers. And I'm going to say transform data. So now I've taken that PDF. It looks scary, but it's not that bad. Transform data. Refresh. Close and load. So now it's given me all that data that was in a PDF format, and now it's actually something that I can use as a spreadsheet and do analysis on. Kind of a cool way to get some data and convert it from other sources and put it into an Excel spreadsheet so you can actually work with these numbers. Just wanted to show you that one real quick. And I'm going to click my close button here. And I do not want to save it. Oh, that's all right. So this button here, since I closed my Excel spreadsheet, is my my recent folders. So I'm going to open up the folder that I had before. You can see here that I've got a bunch of different sheets. Get that out of there. What's that doing? How come I can't move? Oh, there we go. Back to pins with dashes. So I've got a bunch of different sheets that I've named down here at the bottom. Obviously, you can add sheets and copy sheets and do all kinds of things with sheets. Okay, let's get into it a little bit. So a lot of times I get parcel numbers without dashes, but sometimes I need the dashes in there. Other times I get the pin number and I want to remove the dashes. So I've got a couple different formulas for that. So it's called concatenate, and I use it. Let's do this. Let's go to formulas, and this button here is show formulas. So now you can see what I'm doing here. I'm actually using some string functions here to convert this. I'm taking the left two characters of cell C4 and using this ampersand key, which will concatenate is I think is proper word for what I'm trying to do here. Then I'm adding a dash, and anything you add as an alpha field is in parentheses. Then I'm taking the mid sections of C4. I'm starting at the third position. I'm taking the next two digits. So that's how it's doing that. And I'm taking the last thing is I'm adding the right three digits. So that's how it's doing the formula. It looks a little complicated, but it's really not that bad. So this button here, again, will show formulas or remove the formulas. And if you want, I can totally send you the spreadsheet that I'm using today also, so that you can have some of these formulas and you can use them for your own. This one here, I wanted to show a feature on the data tab called text to columns. Many times you'll get an address, it's all one in one cell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into individual portions. So I'm going to hit this button here called text to columns. So you can use fixed width or delineated width. I'm going to go to delineated, and I'm going to click the next button. And I want to say it's going to be a space. I don't have any semicolons in here. I don't have any tabs in here. So every space is going to be a different cell. So 124, S, Main Street, and Chicago. If you click the next button, you can actually move these around too. If you click this next button, it's going to ask you how to format it. I'm not really too worried about the formatting in this example, so I'm just going to click the word finish. And you can see how now the address is all broken up into its own different parts. Chicago is in its own cell, Street is in its own cell, Main is in its own cell. So text to columns is something I use quite frequently also. Data text to columns. I'm going to just show you quickly. I'm going to highlight this cell, this sheet here, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to, I could rename it, pins with dash, just call it that, just for the fun of it. Or I can actually copy it. If I want to copy it, I'm going to go to, let's put it in a new book. And I'm going to create a copy. So I'm moving this spreadsheet to its own, and I'm going to put it in its own spreadsheet, and I'm going to create a copy of it. So now you can see I've got a book one up here. It tells me the file name. I don't have it assigned yet. It just says pins with dash. If I come back over here, you can see that my main worksheet has not changed at all. I just created a new worksheet with just this pins to dashes portion of it. So I do not want to save this. I could do a save as and point to where I want it to go and give it a name and things like that. I'm not going to do that at this point. I'm just going to hit my close button here and close that out because I just wanted to show you that you can move sheets and move things around. All right. I think that kind of takes care of, oh, you know what else? Let's go over here, and I'm going to just highlight these cells here. I want to highlight these functions down here. Oops. So I just highlighted these cells here, and it actually put some data down in this panel down here. Sum, count, and average. If you right click on this ribbon here, you can actually, it will actually show you a couple different things that you can put on there. You could put the minimum and the maximum also. So now I've got the min and max on here as well as the sum, average, and count. So there's a couple things you can do with this. What is it called? The status bar is what it's called. So you can put a couple different things on there should you want to. But that's, again, kind of a little quick, easy way to see some things. So, I don't know what that's doing there. So I want to show you this graph I put together just to kind of show you a couple things about it. Showing what percent of your tax bill goes to what each taxing authority. So I've got the taxing authority, a township, forest preserve, highway department, and obviously the schools. I've got the 2023 tax rate. That was for each of the properties. Then I am computing what percent of the total tax rate is being is from that taxing authority. So let's look at the formula. The formula bar is up here. I'm taking cell J4 divided by J16, but J16 has these dollar signs around them. The dollar signs indicate an absolute reference because I want to take each one of these individual rates and divide it by the total rates so I can figure out what percentage of the total each taxing authority has. So if you look cursor down to the next cell, you'll see that it's going to say J5 and J6 divided by J16. So to put the dollar signs in there, you can use an absolute reference. I'd use it by pressing F4. If I press F4 once, it's going to remove the dollar sign in front of the columns, but it's going to freeze the row. If I press it again, it's going to freeze the column and not freeze the row reference. If I press it again, they're both gone. If I press it again, they're both frozen. So F4 will freeze your cell references. Okay. So obviously what we want to talk about is that Lakeville Township is the smallest portion of your tax bill because we're township government. We're easy pickings. They say you should eliminate them, but why would you eliminate something that's such a small portion of your bill? It won't amount to any change to anybody's bill. Now, if they would fund the schools a little differently, 38 and 28%, maybe our property taxes would actually decrease. But I wanted to graphically represent this. So I take these numbers and I'm putting them in a graph. And it illustrates the fact that the predominant spender of your tax bill, where your tax bill is being spent, is the schools. Of course, I customized this graph, and you can do all kinds of things with graphs. And if you notice up here, I clicked into the table, and this thing popped up, chart design. So now I just clicked out of it, and you see it goes away. I'm going to click into the chart, any place in the chart, and this chart design comes up. It's a really powerful function that lets you change elements, change your chart type, and do all kinds of different things to your chart. So let's just kind of pick let me see. Let's go over here to quick layout. I'm going to see what it wants to give me here. So it's just changing. It's giving me some different layouts and just some choices that it's just giving me automatically. Change chart. Let's go over here to change chart type. I want to go, instead of doing this bar chart, escape, cancel this bar chart. I want to make it look like a pie. So let's go to change chart type and let's make it look like a pie. And click OK. So now my chart looks like that. Yeah, sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't. Let's go back over to quick layout. We can do some things with it by using these quick layouts where it actually will label things for us. You put some leader lines on there and things like that. Puts the legends over here. So you can make all these charts do different things by using this chart design. Chart design. Let's go back here. I would use my beautiful undo button. I love my undo button. We're just going to click it so we can get back to the way it looked when I first got here. So you can, again, I'll click and you can add a chart element. Let's see, is that where I want to be now? Allocations, parts of the chart.
And the reason I say you're not.
I think that's it for this sheet here, this rate graph. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a flavor for what we're trying to do in some graphing. Now we're going to go over here to, this is a part of the land class that I teach, and we are trying to generate land values. And we're going to use graphing to illustrate where those values should be and create formulas for us so that we can create land values throughout the whole subdivision. So basically what we're doing is we don't have any land sales in this subdivision. So we're taking the improved sale price and we're using a land to building ratio percentage to allocate 20% of this total sale price to the land value. So we're just multiplying 130 times 0.2, 20%, and we're arriving at a land value of 26,000. You can see the formula here, D4 times C4. So we're just going through here and we're going right down the line. So we've got 7 sales. We've got different land sizes ranging from 25,000 to 35,000. We've got the improved sale prices. We're applying the same land to building ratio to all of them and coming up with a land value, a lot value. And then we're doing a price per square foot comparison. So what you can kind of observe from this, just the data, is that the smaller land size has the smaller land value, and a larger land size has a larger land value. So it's increasing, but not at the same rate. You see that the land price per square foot for the smallest lot has the highest value of 84 cents. $1.04. And the largest goes to 83 cents a square foot. Again, that's a principle of the increasing, decreasing returns, marginal utility, economies of scale, that the larger the quantity is, usually the price per unit is less, but the total value is more. And that's exactly what we're illustrating here. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to graphically represent this on a spreadsheet. The first one I'm going to do is land value per square foot. So we're going to come down here and we're going to plot those. Land sizes are on my x-axis and price per square foot is on the y-axis. And you can see that there is a decreasing line. This is called a trend line. And you click into the chart design, you can come over here and do the trend line, and you can do all kinds of fun things with your trend lines. But that's where you can add your trend line. Also, when you're there, you can add the formula. This is the line of best fit. This is a line that will give you the formula to compute land values based on your observations. So this one says Y, which is going to be our land price per square foot, has a negative slope. That's at 0.2223 number. X is our square footage, and 1.588 is our constant. Sometimes you have to format this thing. If you go back to home or format, let's see where we're at here. Format. Let's cursor over to here. It's not going to let me do it. But sometimes you have to increase a decimal so that you can actually see this slope properly. But coming down here, and we're going to solve this formula. So we're going to put this formula into a spreadsheet so we can compute a land price per square foot. So Y, let's scroll up just a little bit. Y is our land value per square foot. X is our land square feet. The slope is minus 0.000223. When it's a minus, that means it's a decreasing adjustment. It's a negative slope. It's going down. So it's in a minus slope. The slope adjustment factor is just taking the slope figure times our land square footage. Then that's our constant. So the example here, we're putting in a land square footage. We're putting in the slope. The slope adjustment factor is just this simple formula, C45 times B45, slope times square footage, gives me a number. And then we're adding it to the constant. Since the slope is negative, it's a negative number. And the result is our price per square foot is 97, almost 98 cents a square foot, with a resulting land value of 26,868. So I could put any land size in there. So if I wanted to compute this for the whole entire subdivision, if I wanted to put another 30,000 square feet in here, it gives me, using this trend line formula, following what my market is telling me where I need to go for a 30,000 square foot lot, I'm going to come up with a value of 27,660. I'll go back to 27,500. Now, conversely, if I want to just compute, we're computing price per square foot. If I want to compute just the value per lot, just the lot value, I can do that also. You can see the difference here is that it's an increasing slope, because as my land size is increasing, my total value is increasing. So I have a positive slope factor this time. So again, I put these numbers in the formula. Here's my slope factor as indicated by my formula. I'm taking the slope times the square footage to come up with this factor. I'm adding the constant to it, and it comes up with a value of 26,683, or about 97 cents a square foot. Pretty close to this formula here. I think the reason it's a little different is because of there's not a whole lot of data, so there can be a little bit of inconsistencies. But you can see how you can put this trend line formula and create values from that. So I can create a whole list of values from this. If I wanted to, let's just see what would happen. I'm going to click copy, and I'm going to put a couple of rows in here. I'm going to click paste, and I'm going to start out with 25,000. And then I'm going to add 500 feet to each one of the observations. I'm going to copy that formula down by just dragging it. So now you can see that I'm going 25, 25,500, 26, 26,500. So it's using this formula, and it's generating my land values for me for each one of these parcels with each one of these square footages. So you can see how you can use this formula to create land values, or even any kind of formula where you have a trend line adjustment. So that is that one. Okay, I think we're done with this one. Anybody got any questions on this, how you enter it? Or we'll show you an example on how, I think right in here, we'll probably show you an example. What do we got here? I think that I have my titles on here. I'm going to click this button here, freeze panes. I'm going to unfreeze my panes. Now I'm going to be able to scroll up to cell A1. So if I actually highlight this cell, I'm at B20. I'm going to kind of scroll up a little bit more. Let's leave it there. And then I hit my little freeze pane button here. Keeps the rows and the cell columns visible, while the rest of the worksheets you can scroll through. You can either freeze both the row and the column, or just one or the other, the top row or the first column. I'm going to freeze both of them. So now when I navigate, if I'm going to cursor over the edge of my spreadsheet, you'll see that my PIN number is still there. Now, if I do page down, you can see that my column headings are still there. Very helpful for when you're working in a large spreadsheet and you need to, kind of keep, figure out which columns that you're in. So then if you want to remove it, again, we're going back up here, and I'm going to unfreeze panels. All right. So what we're looking at here is my spreadsheet for a neighborhood of my one-story houses. I've got about 70 sales of one-story houses, and I want to analyze them to see how well see what the sales ratios are for these properties, and see what kind of outliers I can find, and see what kind of data that I can sort and twist by. So let's, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and scroll up here, and I'm going to freeze my panels again. And I'm going to highlight cell A, column A, and I'm going to go up here and use my conditional formatting. I want to find the duplicates. So if I click for conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, duplicate values, it will find all my duplicate pins. And it will say, it's going to highlight them with a red text. Like, cool. All right, it's all highlighted. So I've got a couple down here. So these are like repeat sales. This one sold in 2022 and it resold again in 2024. All right, so I want to filter out those older sales and get rid of that data. So I want to do a little proofing here. So I want to show you a little fun thing you can do with sorting. Going up here to data, and I'm going to click sort. Expand the selection. Yes, I want to, because right now I only have cell A, column A highlighted. And yes, I want to expand the selection. So I was sorting the whole spreadsheet. So I'm going to sort it by pin, but I'm going to sort it by color. I'm going to sort it by the cell color. And the cell color is red. And I want that on top. And then I'm going to add the pin number, just so I sort it in pin number by the cell values. And then I'm going to add another level for sale date, so that my oldest sale is going to be on top of the newer sale is going to be below. So I click OK. Anything that looks like a number, sorts like a number, that's fine. Click OK. And you can see it. I've got 3 duplicates. This one is an unqualified sale. That one's an unqualified sale, and that one's an unqualified sale. So I don't want any of those in my sales ratio study. So what I just did is I held down my control key and I selected each one of those. I could do it. You could do it by row too. I'm going to select that row and I'm going to select that row and I'm going to press my delete row button here. And they're gone. Then you'll notice that the highlighting is gone. There are no more duplicates in my spreadsheet. So we're looking at getting rid of the duplicates. You're proofing your data. You're trying to sort your data. All right, so I'm going to come back up here and then click this, and we're going back to the home screen, going back to conditional formatting, hitting the drop-down arrow. I'm going to clear the rules from the entire sheet, because I don't want anything in there to screw anything else up. So now let's go over to my sales ratio. And I'm going to click in this cell and use my quick button here, my quick sorting button. I'm going to just sort the whole thing smallest to largest, or largest to smallest. I'm just going to click that so it just sorts it all. So what I want to do is I want to try to find the outliers. Where are the low ones? Where are the high ones? What's going on with these things? So to do that, you can use conditional formatting again. Let's look at conditional formatting. I selected sales ratio as my row, and I'm going to go to top and bottom rules. I go, give me the top 10 items. I'll do those in red again. And actually, you could even use, if you wanted to say top or bottom, let's change this to 5, just for the fun of it. And conditional formatting again, I'm going to check this time the bottom 10 items. And we'll leave it at 10 this time. Actually, let's change it to 7. And click OK. So now, oh darn it, I forgot. I didn't change my let's go back to here and manage rules. Because I want the smaller numbers to be a different color. So I got the bottom 8, and let's see, edit rule. I want to preview. I'm going to format it. I'm going to do a different highlight color. Instead of red, let's go blue. Let's go a little bit darker blue. Let's go a little bit darker blue. Okay. And click OK. And click OK. Did it actually only change the font? Edit rule. All right. I'll tell you what. We're going to do this again. Cancel. And we're going to clear the rules. Clear all the rules, the entire sheet. Let's do this all over again. Okay, top and bottom rules. We're going to go top 10 items. We're going to highlight them in red. And we're going to go back here, conditional formatting, bottom rules. And this time we're going to do it in yellow, and we'll change this to 7 again. And okay. So now we've got the lowest ones with the lowest sales ratio highlighted in this yellow. And if I sort this a different way, you'll see that I have my highest ones over here in red. So let's look at these things again. Let's do a data sort. Data and sort. This time we're going to do colors, cell color again. We'll put the smallest ones first, and then we're going to do sales ratio again. Oop, add a level, sorry. Click add a level. I'm going to do sales ratio again, and then cell color. And then this time it'll be red. And then add another level and just put sales ratio in order. Highest, smallest to largest. So you can see now here I've got my, let's call them outliers. What's going on with these guys? Why are they so crazy? You know, this 43. If I highlight the 43, I look, it's an unqualified sale. Okay, it's unqualified. I'm going to delete that row, get that out of my observations. So here's another one that's unqualified, 21%. Let's delete that one too. So let's look at, this other one is 21%. Let's say that there was an addition on this property. So the sale price, I've investigated this parcel number. I've found out there was an addition on this parcel. The sale price and the assessment are not saying the same thing. So I want to remove this because of the influence of the addition that's affecting the sale price of the property and not the assessed value. Again, all I'm going to do is delete that row. So you see, actually, since I selected the top 10, look what it did. It actually added a couple more of the 10 lowest right here. Kind of interesting. All right. So just to kind of proof what's going on here. Also, you can do the same thing for your sale prices. Let's look at the sale price per square foot. $106 a square foot. That's so far out of range. And it's an unqualified sale. Let's get it out of there. We got a couple other unqualifieds. I'll leave them in there just for an example purposes. But let's sort sale price by highest to lowest this time. 345, unqualified sale. Let's get rid of it. Thank goodness. Because those things are really distorting my results. And we'd really see that in the graphical definition too. All right. So let's look at another function that's on the data screen. It's called filter. This button here. If I click filter, it provides drop-down arrows for all of the column headings. So let's click on one of these. Let's go to Assessor Qualified to find out whether they're qualified or unqualified sales. So right now it gives me the choice of qualified and unqualified. So I can actually sort this and remove from the sample my qualified and unqualified sales. So bingo. Now I don't have any unqualified sales in here. Or conversely, I can look at just my unqualifieds. I've got 2 unqualified sales that are out there still. I could delete those or I can exclude those at a different point in this demonstration. So go back to select all. Okay. You can also put filter numbers. Is greater than, is equal to, is less than, is in between. So you can filter your data based on numerical prerequisites that you set. We'll show that in a little bit. So right now, what I want to do is first thing I'm going to do is turn off my panes, my freeze panes. I'm going to unfreeze my panes because I want to insert some graphs up above here. The first graph we're going to do is we're going to be a histogram. If you remember histograms, that's where how your data is dispersed. So what we're going to look at is our sales ratio. So I'm going to go over sales ratio. I'm going to press my shift key and then my end key and then down. So basically what I'm doing is I'm highlighting all of the data in for sales ratio. I'm going to kind of cruise up to the top back over here and kind of cruise over to here. And I'm going to go to insert and I'm going to insert chart. I'm going to see what do they recommend. So I'm going to click recommended charts. And if I scroll down to my recommended charts, here's a nice histogram right here, a nice bar chart histogram. I'm going to click that and I'm going to click OK. So it inserted a chart for me. I'm going to drag it up over here and I'm going to expand it a little bit so we can kind of visually see it. That might be a little too much. So now it shows me some data. It shows me that a lot of my data is over 25 sales fall within 26 and 30. I'm not sure I like all that. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, I'm going to add some chart elements over here. And I'm going to add, let's see, chart title, chart data labels. What I want to see is the number of sales that are in each group. So if I click outside end, it tells me I've got 26 sales in this range. So I'm going to actually click this and go to my home and I'm going to increase the font so you can actually see this number. Okay. So now I've got this number, but I don't know if I want to show this a little differently. I want to display a little differently. So what I'm going to do, press escape, get this out of here. Okay. So I basically right-clicked on the very bottom down here in the legend down here. And it brought up this information here. So I'm going to change my axis options. I want, how many bins do I want? Each one of these things is called a bin. So I'm going to say it gives it automatically to me, but I don't necessarily like that. I'm going to change it to number of bins is going to be 6. Great. My overflow is my maximum number, which I'm going to set to 38. My underflow is my lowest number, and I'm going to set that to 26. So you can set those words whichever way you want, and you can play with them. Now it changes my data a little bit. So I've got 5 sales that are under 26% sales ratio. I got 16 of them that are between 26 and 29. I got 17 that are within 29 and 32, and so on down the line. So you say, well, that's actually not a terrible illustration. And we've got some things that are out there a little high, anything above 35, I'm questioning, anything below 26, I'm questioning. So technically, you could sort these things and look at those. You sort this again by high to low, low to high. You see where your numbers are. Where do you want to exclude these? So let's say we want to look at sales ratios, and we're going to do a number filter. Just to kind of show you something is greater than 20, let's say is greater than 26. And let's click OK. So now we've removed a couple of those low ones. And what does this do to our graph? Kind of changes it quite a bit. All right. So let's see. So I'm going to clear the filter here. I'm going to just select all. So all of them are back. So now let's look at something else. I want to know if there's a difference because I have one stories, I have crawls and basements. So I'm going to look here, hit my filter button, and I'm going to say, I want to only look at the crawl spaces, the ones without a basement. What kind of data does that show? I've got quite a few of them, and they seem to be kind of hovering in that same range. But now let's look at what the full basement shows me. I'm going to select that, unselect crawl. Wow, that shows me I've got a wide, crazy range of sale prices with properties with full basements. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe that's something that we need to investigate. What is my camera system doing to create values for these basements? What's driving the sale prices on these ones with basements? Is there a finished basement that's driving something? Are my characteristics correct? Are full basements more desirable? Something along those lines, something that raises a red flag. When you see this much dispersion in your data, that should raise a red flag for you. All right. So now I'm going to do a different graph. So that's the histogram graph. I'm going to just slide that out of the way. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get all my data back. Select all. Did I delete? I've got all the qualified, unqualified. You can kind of see when this, let's move this up here. So right now you see that this, instead of having a little triangle here, it actually has this little indicator that I'm sorting by sales ratio right there. Okay, just to kind of show you what you're sorting by. So now I want to show a graph, price per square foot and of assessed value at market and sale price per square foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my square foot living area, which will hopefully be my x-axis. And then I'm going to highlight, scrolling up, my market value per square foot and sale price per square foot. I hold the control key down and I'm just dragging right now, holding my mouse and dragging. So I'm selecting all that data. Okay, so I've got all that selected. I'm going to scroll up to the top again so that my graph shows up at the top. I'm going to go hit insert and I'm going to go recommended charts. So right now it's doing a pretty good job of selecting a scatter diagram with my total market value per square foot and my sale price per square foot. I like that. I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to click OK. Again, I'm going to drag it up here. I'm going to expand it so we can see what our graph looks like. What I want you to notice is that there's a lot of white space over here because we're starting at 0. But my data doesn't really start at 0. It starts a little bit over 100, and my square footage is somewhere, looks like I'm being range of 750. So if I highlight the legend, the horizontal axis here, and I right click on it, and I'm going to format axis. Brings me over to this toolbar that opens up here. I'm going to change my bounds. My bounds here, I want to be 750. Okay. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, click on that. Gives me the bounds I'm changing here. I'm going to go to 100. So I think that this graph now really kind of depicts just my data. So I can really kind of see some kind of trends. What I see here is that I have a lot of high sale prices per square foot. And I don't see too many blue dots for my assessment per square foot. So you might want to look at those sale prices per square foot. Why are these guys so high? You might want to focus on some of these prices per square foot, the high ones, or even some of these low ones down here, or the assessed value that's really low over here per square foot. So let's look at this quick layout button here. I want to change this chart a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of hover over and see what it gives me. I'm just scrolling over. Look at this one. It puts all the data points on there. There's an easy graph to read, right? But this graph actually puts the trend lines in here. You can see the dashed lines that are there. I wanted to see those trend lines. The trend lines tell me where this one is the sale price, but I want to change it up a little bit. I'm going to click the trend to format the trend line. I'm going to change it to a solid line, and I'm going to change the width of it so I can actually see it, so it stands out. I'm going to do the same with this trend line. I'm going to change it. Oops, sorry. I'm going to change it to a solid line, and I'm going to change it to something larger. So what does this tell me? Graphically, this tells me that I have a pretty wide difference in my assessed value per square foot, my at market value, compared to the sale prices per square foot, where my dispersion, my difference when I get a little bit larger square footage of house, it's a little bit more narrow. The difference is a little more narrow. So what that might tell me is that I might need to increase values on my smaller homes, while my larger homes may be more accurately assessed. That's what that trend line is kind of showing me. So now let's do some fun with filtering like we were doing before. Let's see. Let's look at, we talked about crawl and full basements before. I'm going to hit the filter button here and I'm going to select, give me just the full basements. Now let's actually do it the other way. Give me the crawls. What is that telling me? It kind of looks the same to me. There isn't much difference in the numbers. But now let's look at what happens when I just look at the full basements. Man, my data's all over the place. It doesn't look like I have that many full basements. What's my data look like here? Yeah, it's only about 12 or 15 of them. So my data is a little bit more scattered. There's not a lot of consistency in my data, which might be the reason why I didn't have too much consistency in my histogram over here. Let's see if I can scroll over here. So my histogram over here is still active with my filters too. So it's a little bit different. So let's go back and just put them all back here, select all. And let's maybe filter by square footage. I'm going to go use a number filter. I'm going to go is greater than 1200. See, I've got a couple ones that are just kind of look like outliers that are so far up there. And then let's just change this around and go to the number filter again and say is less than 1200. Now that one over here seems to be an outlier that I'd kind of want to remove because it really kind of distorting where my graphs are going here. But that just gives you an indication on how you can look at your data and change it around and see some trends and see some data that you can use and graphically represent what you're trying to show for studies of a neighborhood. Okay. All right, I think that's all I wanted to show on that one. We're going to go over to another spreadsheet and we're going to talk about tables, formatting data as a table. It's a really powerful function within Excel that you can do a lot of things with, and it helps you manipulate your data a little easier and navigate your data a little easier. So I've got, it's always about me and beer. We've got a 12 pack and we've got the price of a 12 pack. And we're selling different quantities of each of these 12 packs and 6 pack, 12 packs in cases, 24 packs. So I want to put this data into a table. So I'm going to click anywhere in this table. I'm going to come up here and format as table. And it gives me a bunch of choices on how I want it to look. Do I want it to have some bold heading titles? Do I want it to have, you can choose anything you want. So I'm just going to unclick this one here. Turquoise. And it's going to ask me, is this the range of data? Yes. Does my table have header rows? Headers? Yes, it does. So it's clicked. And I said, okay. So now it's actually made it all look nice and pretty. It's got all the different shading. You can see that the headers are bolded. And also you should note here is that table design is now something that's a pop-up menu choice. And you have different things you can do with the table design. You can do the filter button. You can turn that on and off. You can see the filter button, the drop-down arrows. You can turn that on and off. You can do things with ban the first columns. You ban the columns. So that kind of shows some differences there. I'm going to get back into that and get rid of that. Table design. Banded rows, column, header rows. So now a great thing about what you can do with tables is you can do functionality. So I want to do a total column here. So I'm going to put in a column for total, T-O-T-A-L. And press enter, and you can see it carries over the formatting automatically. Watch what happens when I put a formula in here. I'm going to take the price times the quantity to come up with a total. I'm going to press the equal sign. And I'm going to cursor over to quantity, and look what it does. It has a named range in here. Quantity is a named range. And then I'm going to do the next thing as a mathematical function times the price. So quantity times price. Watch what happens when I press enter. It populates the entire column with data. So I don't have to copy that formula down. It does it for me. That's a really, really helpful feature when you're working with a lot of data and you have to copy a cell formula. Okay, so going to table design, you can put in total rows. So it'll tell me that I've sold a total of $450 of merchandise. Look at the function. It's called subtotal. It's doing that automatically for you. Subtotal is a real powerful function too. I'll show you in the next one. There's another function called aggregate, but subtotal is a function. Unfortunately, it's not well designed. How do you know what 109 total is? If you hit this function button here and you click help with this function, or you click this drop down here, not the drop down, help with this function. Where is this going to take me this time? It came way over here. Brad, guys probably can't see that. Can you see this help screen now? Okay. So it actually took me out to the web to Microsoft support, and it'll tell you how to use this subtotal. Here are the functions. See, now right now what we're looking at is a function 109, right? 109 is the sum. And what 109 does is it ignores hidden rows. Or you could use the function to include hidden rows, which would just be 9. So you have all of these functions that you can do with subtotal: average, count, min, max, standard deviation, variance sum. The thing that it doesn't do, excuse me, is find your median. That's probably the biggest problem with subtotals. All right, I'm going to close that up. And I'm going to close this up. Close that up. Don't need to see that. So subtotal is a great way to do things, and formatting things as a table is great. If you wanted to convert it back to a regular range of values, you hit this convert back. So that'll remove the table formatting. So let's go down, scroll down a little bit, and I've got the same data, but I want to do it in a different way. I'm not going to use a table this time. What I want to show now is that you can insert subtotals. Going here to data, and you go over here to outline, and it says subtotal. I'm going to click that, and it brings me back, opens this dialog box. At each change in product, the 12-pack or 12-pack or 24-pack, I'm going to sum. I could do count, I could do average, but I'm going to sum the total purchase. So I'm going to click OK. So now what it does, look how it does these different levels here. So my 12 packs, I've sold $150. My 24 packs, I've sold $300. And then for the total, $450. So if I go to this again and I click outline, you can also show detail or hide detail. Let's hide the detail. And we'll go here and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hide the detail. So now it's just giving me the summary totals. It's a little bit more functional this way than using tables to do summary totals. You can't do. It's not. See, you can't do that here when you have a table function. You might be able to group them. I'm not exactly sure how to do all that stuff, but you can play around with it. So that's how to use subtotal. That's pretty helpful. I'm going to go back here to outline. I'm going to show detail, and it returns everything back here. So again, a very, very powerful function is subtotal. But coming over here, I want to show you that. I want to get rid of that too. There's a function called aggregate, and this function has a lot of the same functionality but more so. than your subtotals. Looks like I've got a filter on qualified, so I'm going to actually click that. I'm going to get select all so I can get my numbers being equal. So the aggregate function, I'm going to click into this cell. You see aggregate 2, 5, and then a range. Like, holy cow, what is that? Again, click your function and click your help with this function. Let me drag this over so you guys can all see it. The aggregate function is a little bit more complicated, but you have more functions with it. Average, counts, min, max. You have the median, which is important for us. And other things. So you have these functions. So that's the function that you're going to assign to it. If you want to find the average, it's going to be function 1. If you want to find the median, it's function 12. And then the next set of options is ignore nested subtotals, ignore hidden rows, ignore errors, ignore nothing, ignore hidden rows or values. So going back to the spreadsheet, the way this formula is written, we're doing 2, which is the count, 5, which is ignoring something or another. Let's look at okay. It doesn't even tell you what you're doing. That's the difficult part about using the aggregate function. It should be way more user friendly, but it's not. So just click into the help function, go over to the help and see what you're supposed to be using. So this one is saying ignore hidden rows. Actually, I want that because I'm going to be filtering things and I'm going to be hiding rows. So I do want to ignore hidden rows. So my option is 5, and then my range is the range, just a K, which is what? I think my market adjustment. So what I'm doing with this spreadsheet, this is a group of similar neighborhoods, similar style homes in my Lindenhurst area. Let's see, what does it say? I've got 101 sales. And what I'm doing is a building residual. I'm trying to adjust my cost value that's coming out of CAMA to get myself up to market value, my sale price. So right now, what it's telling me is that some of these things are too low. They need to be increased by a significant percentage to get to the sale price. So that's what I'm trying to determine. What is my market adjustment that I'm going to be applying to my building values to get me to my proper level of assessment? So if I look at all the data, my median factor should be 1.3626. And actually, let's highlight that. Let's go back to home, and I'm going to highlight that in yellow just because it's kind of important. Because we want to see the variation, what's happening with it. Oh, okay. Let me make sure that I'm. Oh, you know what I didn't. Let's see. Let's just go quickly back here and back up to this. The tables here, what I wanted to show you when you select it as a table, watch what happens to A, B, C, and D when you scroll down. Oh, sure, it's not going to do it. Normally what happens is that the header name goes up into the cell column. Oh, there it is. I wasn't in the table. So if I start scrolling down, watch what happens to A, B, C, and D. The header names replace the letters. So you know what? It's kind of like freezing your panes, but a little different. Didn't want to show you that. Data subtotals, aggregate function for each panes, data filter. Okay. Going back over to this spreadsheet here. I am going to, let's see, scroll down here. I want to look at my data. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is highlight this cell. I'm going to look for duplicates. I want to get rid of my duplicates. Go into your conditional formatting, duplicate values. I'm going to highlight them in red again. And I'm going to do that same sort that I've done before. Data, sort by pin number, by cell color, Oh, I guess I don't have any duplicates in this one. Huh. Somebody must have edited this data before then. Let's just see, make sure that did that right. Home, conditional formatting, duplicate values. Highlighted in red. Thought for sure I had some duplicates in here. Obviously, it doesn't look like it. Okay, well, that's good. So what do I want to show? I want to display the building factor, my market adjustment factor by my square footage. So I'm going to click and hold and scroll down to the bottom to highlight the factor. And then I'm going to do the same thing for square foot living area. So I've got those two columns highlighted. So I'm going to kind of scroll back up to the top and I'm going to insert my graph. It's going to be another scatter graph. Go back to insert, recommended charts. And yes, this is the kind of graph I want. I want a scatter graph. But what I don't like about what it did is it actually has my X and Y axes wrong. I want my square footage on the bottom and my factor on the Y up axis. So to change that, it's a little difficult. But if you right click in here and then we go to select data, and I'm going to edit this data. So what I want to do is I want to change my columns. You see it's right here. It says K21 through K121 and M. I want to switch those so that my X values are my M number. It's a little bit complicated to do this. Sometimes I actually export this, just a couple of things, the columns that I want to highlight to a different spreadsheet so that I can get them in the right order. And this one needs to be K. And then we're going to come over here and delete that and press K and click OK. And click OK. Now let's see what my graph looks like. That's much better. My square footage is on the bottom, and then my factor is over here. So going over to chart element, let's put a axis primary. We're going to put a primary horizontal axis on here and just change that to square feet. And then I'm going to add a chart element here for my vertical. I'm going to call that factor. And I can click into here and change the title of the chart to say, let's put market adjustment MA for one story. Let's just abbreviate that. Okay. Now, again, we've got a lot of this white area here. So I'm going to get rid of that real quick by clicking on the axis down here. I'm going to right click on it, format axis. It's a bunch of different ways you can do that. Oops, I clicked off of it. My bounds again is going to be 1,000 to 3,000. We'll get that 3,000 over here. Okay, then I'm going to go to my market adjustment over here. My factor, let's see, it's going to be, let's say 0.75. All right, so now I've gotten rid of that white area, so it kind of graphically represents where I want to go. What do you see from this? I see this small square footage as being kind of an outlier. Maybe this guy's an outlier. Maybe that guy's an outlier. So that's what you can kind of do to kind of display where these things are. If you look at it, if you hover over it, it'll tell you what the square footage is and what the number is, the factor. So if you wanted to go down there and find that, you could. So let's go here and filter our data. Let's get rid of this. Nope, I actually want to do one more thing. I'm going to add a trend line. Go to trend line options. You can do it exponential so that it curves, linear, which is a straight line, power, kind of see that it curves up a little bit more for the smaller square footages. I like the moving average. It goes crazy. Yeah, that's fun. I usually use linear just because it's easier. You can kind of really kind of see that a little bit better. Um, let's make it a solid line and increase. So you can kind of see that trend line. Actually, let's change its color. Let's change it to yellow. No, green. There you go. Yeah, just formatting options just to sort of help you visualize what you're doing here. All right, so basically here's our whole spreadsheet. What this tells me is that I should have a higher market adjustment for my smaller properties, right? My trend line is increasing as my square footage is getting smaller. But if I use the median 1.36, I would be over assessing my larger properties and under assessing my smaller properties, which is why your line of best fit is the probably the preferred method of doing an adjustment to your values. And you're going to be doing it consistently with the size delineations that you need. So let's look at some of these things and see what kind of changes happen. Let's get rid of my unqualified sales. Let's only look at my qualified sales. So I'm unchecking unqualified. Changes my graph a little bit. It got rid of that outlier that was way up there. Of course, I could have seen that too by doing the sorting on my factor. What's it at here? Let's just sort by factor. And look what happened to our aggregate function. Our aggregate says now we only have 95 out of so we eliminated 6 unqualified sales. And our median actually changed a little bit. I could probably put that trend line formula on there, but I don't know if that's going to help or confuse anything. So let's look at something else. Let's do some more filtering. Let's look at the basement and the crawl thing again. So let's look at, we have full basement and we have crawl. Let's look at only full basements. Pretty much the same number. And so let's look at, change this over, just look at the crawls. Very different. I don't have a lot of larger ones. They all seem to be a little bit on the smaller side. Look at the median factor that it should be. Well, that's really kind of distorted because there's so much data in there, so little data in there. Maybe that's not the best way to do analyze it. Let's look at a different thing. Let's give me all of it again. How about we sort by, oh, let's see. Let's sort by square footage. And I'm going to do a number filter this time. Let's say is less than, let's go less than 2,000. What does that tell me? It's pretty scattered still, but look at how my median number is increasing, 1.5. Now, if I do this filter over here again on square footage and I say is less than 2,000, is greater than 2,000, I should say. What happens to my data? My median factor should be significantly less, kind of illustrating the point that my smaller houses need more of a factor than my large houses. It could be a product because of how things are selling. That smaller houses sell for a higher price per unit, and maybe my CAMA cost value is not reflecting that same trend in the market. It's coming up with the number isn't high enough for my CAMA number. So you can see how you can kind of twist those numbers and change those numbers and kind of see some trends. And this aggregate function actually helps you figure out what maybe you should be doing with these factors, where your outliers are, and what kind of numbers that you should be using. All right. I think we kind of talked about most of the settings here. Let's go to select all, get all the data back. Again, you could do the filtering by the factor. You could twist this number around and highlight these low factors and high factors. Maybe you say, oh, this is a 2000 sale, 2020 sale. Maybe those things are so old that they should be time adjusted or eliminated. That could be some of the reasons why you're seeing that trend with those low factors. And conversely, look at the high factors, they're probably the most recent sales. So just kind of looking at your data in different ways to sort and twist and figure out the proper thing that you should be doing with this. You can see that even your COD is way off here. If you would just use a straight linear factor of 1.37, your COD would be pretty horrible. All right. Let's look at the next spreadsheet. And we're going to kind of put it all together on this spreadsheet. We're going to do several different functions from a data dump out of my system. This is all actually really all live data. Do this. I'm going to copy. I'm going to do a little format copy over to this cell. I don't know why it's different. But basically, I've got, I think, 7 subdivisions. And they're in my study group, is what I like to call them. I'm going to actually sort this, do a data sort by neighborhood number, and then I'm going to do it by pin, just so I can see. Okay. So I've got Cedar Ridge smaller, Cedar Ridge larger, Cedar Crossings, Windance, Ishnala, so those are my subdivision names. They're all in the same study group. They all have similar characteristics of sizes, styles, year built. So I take several neighborhoods and I study them together. So this is the raw dump that I get out of my CAMA product. So I have to take it and I have to massage it in Excel to give me the desired results that I need. So we're going to use a pivot table here to do all that. What I want to do first is I want to transform my data. I want to add a couple columns. I want to do some different things. So first thing I'm going to do is actually go back to home, and I'm going to do format as a table. And I'm going to just select one again. Yes, I have header rows. All right, so now we've got the table functionality. So one thing I want to do is I want to segregate using my data text to columns, my neighborhood number and my neighborhood name. So I'm going to change this heading to say NBHD, abbreviate neighborhood. Oop, should put a space in there. I'm going to insert a column. Go over here to my quick access toolbar, click insert. So it's going to give me column 1. I'm going to copy this table header, column heading, and I'm going to say neighborhood. I'll call his name. I'm going to take this data, I'm going to highlight it, shift and down, go back to data, text to columns. And this time delineated, I'm going to go click next, and actually not by a space, but by the colon. That separates my neighborhood number from my neighborhood name. Click finish, because I don't really care about the formatting. Next, then finish. So now I've got my neighborhood number separated in its own column from my neighborhood name. And here I'm going to click this little circle here, which is auto column fit right there. So it actually kind of shrinks my columns up here. I'm going to do the same thing. I just clicked on D, set the column width. So it just kind of gives me a little bit condensed version here. So my sale date, something I like to do is I like to sort by year. So I'm going to add a column and add a function for year. I'm going to insert column. I'm going to call it year. And I'm going to use come on, where'd it go? Year. I'm going to use a function in the date Let's go to formulas, and then we'll go to date and time. I'm going to go down here and find year. And it's going to, what cell reference do I want to use? And this one, in this case, is going to be this cell here. Sale date. And click OK. But look what it did. It didn't really put it as a proper format. So I'm going to click my little quick access toolbar here. Click that. I'm going to change this just to a general formatting, 2021. I'm like, okay, that's good. But it only changed to one cell. Again, using the going home, copying the format for the whole column. So now I've got the year of each sale. So I can do some analysis by year. You could do different things by doing maybe half a year, quarter of a year, things like that. You don't have to. So let's see, I got to add a couple more columns here. I'm going over to the end, and I'm going to do sale price per square foot. So again, with it being formatted as a table, it really makes it easy to do these adding columns in the formulas. So I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to do sale price. You see sale price up here. Hit the division key and divide it by my square foot living area. Press enter. I actually want this to be, I'm going to show a couple decimal places here. So I'm going to hit this number here. I'll go with my formatting key right there. I'm going to format it as a number, 2 decimal places. I'm not going to need a comma separator. So now I've got price per square foot with 2 decimal places. All right, the next thing I want to obviously add my sales ratio. And this one, I'm going to use the round feature, which will truncate how many decimal places I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the @ I'm going to type in the word round, and it is going to be assessed value divided by sale price. And what I need to do is indicate how many decimal places I want in the next field. It's comma 3. So I'm going to go 3 places to the right of the decimal point. I'm going to close my parentheses, press enter. Now again, it didn't format it correctly. So I'm just going to shift and down, and I'm going to hit the % key. But I want more than 1 decimal place. I want more decimal places. So I hit the increase decimal spot right there. So, but you see, if I hit it again, or I hit it again, there's zeros after that because I truncated it to 3 spots. If I wanted to, I could change that to 5. And you can see my numbers all fully out there, or I could change it to 0. Oops, that didn't work right. So now I don't have anything. All right, so we're going to go back to 3. And then what we'll do here is we'll also shift that down. We'll decrease our decimal places so we don't only show 2 spots. All right, so we've basically got some good data. I don't think we have anything in here let's look for duplicates. Why not? We got a couple minutes here. Data, nope, home, conditional formatting, duplicate values. Oh, I do have a couple duplicates. So let's sort it and see what happens here. Doing a data sort. We're going to do pin number by color again. I'm going to move all of the duplicates up to the top. Then I'm going to sort it by pin number, the whole sample. And then I'm going to sort it by sale date. Sale date, oldest and newest. So you can actually see I have a number of repeat sales. Maybe some of them are qualified, maybe some of them aren't. You know what you could do with this data? Let's go ahead and copy all the duplicates Just give me all the data for the duplicates. I just highlighted that. I'm going to right click and click copy. And I'm going to come over here and click the plus sign, which is going to give me a whole new sheet. And I'm going to paste it to the whole new sheet. So it doesn't copy the column widths. You can do this paste special. Let's see, paste special. And it's not giving it to me. That's okay. All I wanted to show you is that you can paste things over so that it comes over as a value or something. That's interesting. It didn't actually copy my formulas properly because it's looking at a different columns. Interesting. Let's do that again. Whoa. Let's hit the undo button. Thank God for the undo button. All right, so this time I'm actually going to do it, and maybe I hit let's go copy. Maybe I hit paste before. And then see this paste special button? That's actually a really powerful function. You can copy the column widths, you can transpose, you can copy values. So instead of copying formulas, you're just going to copy the results of the formulas. Let's do that and column widths. Oh, it's not going to give me both. That's okay. Come on, paste. Paste. All right, what did it do to the columns over here? Huh, this time it did actually bring the formulas over. Interesting. Well, what I want to show you is basically you could take these repeat sales and you could actually, I'm going to insert a row here real quick. You can actually kind of do a percent change. So you can show what your market appreciation is in your area. Maybe that's something useful that you can do. Instead of just deleting these things, you can show market appreciation. But in this instance, what I want to do is I want to get rid of all these duplicates. So I only want the most current sale price. So I'm just highlighting each one of these cell values to get rid of these older sale prices. And then I'm going to come up here and delete the row. Just cleaning up my data a little bit. So now I've got this great spreadsheet. Now, how do I know what's going on with it? Let's go ahead and go back here and do a data sort again. Data sort, and I'm going to delete that level, delete that level. I want to go by neighborhood name, and then it's going to be just by cell values and then PIN number. Just want to have it sorted by neighborhood. Oop. You see what I did here is I screwed it up, but I was able to change it around. So you could change the order, your sort order here. Now I'm sorting by PIN number first, or I don't really want that. I want my neighborhood first, and click this little button here and click OK. So now it's back in some kind of crazy order. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how to insert a pivot table. Pivot tables are a really powerful analytical tool that lets you twist data, sort data, and give you results in a really quick automated fashion. So let's go here and we're going to go to Insert Pivot Table. It's asking me what my table range is and whether I want to put it in a new or existing worksheet. And I'm going to click OK. It's going to put it on a new worksheet. Where did it put it? This one here, I believe, is where we're at. So sheet 2. Right, so I'm going to rename this so I know what I'm looking at here. Renamed pivot data. Okay. So it brings up this thing called a field, pivot table fields. Pivot table analyze is also a new heading up here. So what do I want to do? What I want is I want by neighborhood name. I want to show the sales ratios by neighborhood. So I'm going to put neighborhood name in there. It's going to be a row. So now I've got each one of my, scroll over a little bit, each one of my individual neighborhoods is listed here. So what do I want to total? I want to total the sales ratio. So I'm going to just click and drag this into the summary area here. What it does though is it finds this sum. I don't want the sum. I want to change that to be the average. The biggest problem with pivot tables, it doesn't give you the median. That's the frustrating part about it. So basically what I did is I hit this drop down arrow and I'm going to value field settings. Click that. And I'm going to want to average it. Okay. So it's going to give me average of ratio. It actually puts it on the column there. It says average of ratio. Kind of a nice feature. But since it's the average, I want to know if it's being influenced by outliers. So I'm going to drag ratio into the field setting here. And I'm going to change this field setting to min. And then I'm going to drag ratio in here again. I said again. And I'm going to put maximum on here. Let's do it this way. So I'm going to click into this. And I'm going to pivot table analyze, click into this cell, and field settings comes up again. So I'm going to click field settings here, and I'm going to click max. The other thing you can do is to change the format. So if you need to change the number format, if you need to make it a percentage, you need to make it a number, you can do so here. So I'm actually going to change that back to percent and click OK and click OK. So now it kind of tells me where my range of data is. And that's kind of helpful. Is 41 seems pretty crazy. And look at Pine View. It says, 25 to 41. Those are some red flags for me. But let's also add one last field that we're going to summarize. And we're going to summarize the count of PIN numbers. Again, clicking and dragging. So it tells me how many pieces of data are in my sample. If, I've only got 4 sales, maybe it isn't real representational of what's going on in the neighborhood. Although I think it is pretty good. You see that the data is, my grand total is 30, level of assessment is 30. And that kind of falls in the range here. But let's look at Pine View. 41 to 25. That seems kind of high. So if I go back to my SR pivot data, this is my database I'm looking at. I can scroll down and I can find Pine View and look at some of these sales and look at the data, right? But let's go back to the pivot data. I want to look at this in more detail. What happens if I double click on this? It actually pops up a spreadsheet named detail for all of the data in the Pine View subdivision. This is static data. This is not live data. But you could, if you wanted to do your medians here, so you could actually use a function and put in @median, and then select the range, close your parentheses. It'll give you the median. So if you want to do some exercises outside of your main database to find your median, you can. But what I'm looking at is this ratio. I see this one here at 41. Let's do a quick sort on this. 25 to 41. Man, seems like some outliers here. Let's just get rid of my high-end one. I investigated this and I found that there's something wrong with this sale. It wasn't a qualified sale, so I want to delete it. If I delete it here, hit the delete row button. Okay, it's gone from this data. But if I go back to my SR pivot data, you can still see that 41 is still in there. The data that I pulled up in the detail here is static data. If I want to delete something, I have to go back to my main database table. So I'm looking for that sale that was at 41.2. I'm just going to delete that row and get it out of my database. All right, so I did that. Now I'll go back to my pivot data, but wait, it's still there. Here's what you have to do. You have to go to pivot table analyze, and you have to refresh all data. So now you can see that data is out of there. So we kind of trimmed that data down a little bit, got rid of that outlier. The only way to do so is by changing your main database table and then refreshing your pivot table data. There's so many different ways that you can do this analysis. Let's look at slicers. A slicer is another way to filter your data. So I'm going to use year, or put year on it as a slicer. It comes up as a label box. And actually, let's go ahead and go back to this field explorer, the field list. And I'm going to add in the rows, I'm going to add year here. So we can kind of see it. We can see the each year's sales in the average ratio. You can see that my ratios are going down, which is indicating that my market value is appreciating and my assessed values need to come up and follow suit. But what's really weighing it down? Look at in Cedar Crossings in the year 2021, I've got 34 sales, 13 sales, and my ratio is 34%. Interesting. I'm going to close this table box up here, and I'm going to say I only want to look at 2021 sales. You can kind of look at those in detail and say, what is my level of assessment in 2021? Interesting, 33 and a third. But what about 2023? Let's just look at 2023. I'm at 28%. Again, showing you some market trends. You can just look at, if you want to select by holding the control key down, you can look at 2022 and 23. So you can see that that's a pretty tight margin, 30 to 29-ish. 28, 28, 29, 28. That's not too bad. My Ishnala Deep Lake Shores is a little low. But everything else seems to be okay. Let's see. What do I want to do? I actually want to show you. I'm going to get rid of the slicers here. And I'm actually going to go back to this field list. I'm going to drag year out. So I don't have year in here anymore. But I also want to change my neighborhood name. I want to show square footage living area. I want to do a sort by living area to see if I've got any size delineation problems. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of neighborhood too. I'm going to drag that right out. Now look at it, gives me every single square footage. But I don't really want that. I want to group this by a size range. So I'm going to group, I got this field highlighted. I'm going to group the field right here. I'm going to start at 1508, end at this number. I'm going to do increments of 500. So now what does it tell me? I've got a group of square footages, 1500 to 2000 round numbers. And here's my ratios. They don't look too bad. What if I looked at just 23? What would happen? My largest ones seem to be a little low. I might need to, well, there's only one sale too. So again, just trying to forecast some trends that you can see for these different years, different size homes and everything like that. The last thing I want to show you, I'll put this all on here. And I'm going to get rid of min. Oops. Let's get rid of min. We'll get rid of max. We'll get rid of count. And let's put year back in here. So now we've got the data per year. We can also insert a pivot chart. And this will graphically represent the data. So right now it's going to give me a cluster diagram, which is fine. Let's just do that one and click OK. I'm going to drag this and make it larger, get rid of this so you can see it. There's ways to change colors and things like that for each year. I'm not exactly sure how to do that at this point. Trend data, it's for a series. Let's go color and see if it'll do it. And I didn't think it was going to do it. There's a way to do it by color. But what it kind of shows you is that there's a decreasing level of assessment for each year, 2021, 22, and 23. All right. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Wow, we finished 10 minutes early. That's unusual for me. I usually go long. Can I answer any questions? I know this is a whole belly full of information. And all I can tell you is just trial and error. You can always find things on the web. If you search on the web, Google how to create a pivot chart in Excel. You can use the help feature is very useful. And the search feature is very useful. So don't be afraid to twist and manipulate your data. And so you can find the trends. You can find the outliers. You can find the results that you need to get. That's all I got. Are there any questions in the chat, Amanda?
I oh, looks like we got some questions. One question coming through and some thank yous coming through. I also have allowed you, if you want to ask your question, you are now able to unmute yourself if you've got a question that you want to just ask. I think I did see one come through. Once you use text to columns, how do you revert to original columns?
That's
From
a darn
Lavella
good
Harris.
question. That's a darn good question. Let's look back at this. I think that you would have to use this. I don't think there's a way to do it like as easy as the data text to columns. It doesn't go back. So you would have to use like the function like this one here. And let's see if I can do that for you here. I'm going to use a formula, put the equal sign, and then I'm going to point to cell, the number cell, and then you use the ampersand key. And I won't put a space in there just for dramatic purposes here. I'll put the south in here. And then I'm going to add a ampersand again. I'm going to put a space in quotation marks, open parentheses, quotations, space, close. And then I'm going to do Main Street as another, got to do an ampersand. And I'm going to put Main. So you can see how I put it together again. There's also a function called concatenate that's in there that I don't necessarily like. I like using the ampersands. So if you were going to do, you wanted to correct this formula to put that space in there, again, you would use open parentheses, sorry, quotation space, close the quotations, and then use another ampersand. So you can see how it's kind of a little bit of a manual way to do it. I don't know, there's no way to bring it together in any other way. Let's see, we go at con. I think that's it here. Oh, concatenate right here. And then let's hit this function key. It's going to say, what's your text? Okay, I want to select that one. And your next one is south. I wonder if it'll let you put a space in here. Let's do that. And then south. Actually, this might not be too bad. And then and then Main. Okay, so press enter. Click OK. And that's actually not a bad way to do it. I don't think I've ever really tried it. I didn't want to ever try to spell and type out concatenate. But yeah, that worked pretty well because it actually put the spaces in there for me pretty easily, as opposed to this one where I was having to put it in quotation marks, things like that. Um, so that's what I got for you there. Any other questions?
All right, we've got another one. Any websites you would recommend for research and tutorials?
YouTube. I swear to God, YouTube is so helpful. You know, what was I? I was looking at something. I was looking at trying to how to switch that X and Y axis before when I showed you a little the graphing on this one here. I was having a problem getting my square footage on the bottom axis. I'm like, there's got to be an easy way to do it. And unfortunately, um, when you chart design, it's not real simple. You know, you figured you'd hit this switch row column, right? No, that doesn't do it. Look what it's totally screws up your graph. It doesn't do it right. And I don't know why. So I had to do a search, and I think I actually got an answer from AI, kind of giving me the step-by-step instructions. But you can also use YouTube to find it all.
Yeah, I know I personally am Google taught in Excel. And so if it's similar, like if I was like, oh, there's got to be a way to do something, I usually just will type it into Google, and more often than not, I find an answer to it. Um, so yeah, I'm looking to see if you have any other questions. It's not a question. I'm just going to point this out as one of the tips and tricks I picked up during this too. Derek Devers made a comment about the F4 for the shortcut for doing the absolute reference. And I had no idea about that too. I've been typing in those dollar signs in manually, which could be a pain. So there's
Yeah, that's
multiple of
right.
us that really enjoyed hearing that quick tip there. Uh, can you share some of the formulas? I've got that. I know you offered to share the spreadsheet, so
Yes.
that could be an option. I don't know if you've got any other resources you've made, Jeff, that might be tied to your presentation here.
Yeah, this one, it's not that difficult of a spreadsheet. Even when you get into, the allocations, all I'm doing is just popping numbers into cells and doing simple multiplication of cell references. This is that land valuation. So basically, I'm just dropping in a new land value. I'm putting in a slope value. Maybe it's 225. And so it's just coming up with different numbers by simple multiplication. And then this one is just a simple adding. So a lot of my formulas are pretty basic. If you go into these here, basically I'm taking a building residual, and I've actually have a column hidden here. Format. Let's see here. Well, because I'm adjusting the sale price to get to a proper level of assessment, my desired level of assessment. So instead of going to 33 to third, my township level of assessment was, say, 32. So I was applying that and adjusting the sale price, subtracting the land value to come up with a building residual. And then I'm looking at my cost value that's being generated out of my CAMA system, and I'm creating a factor that I need to adjust this cost factor to what my building residual, my market value is. So land values I've computed in some form or fashion using maybe that allocation spreadsheet that I showed before, subtracting it from my sale price and comparing it to my cost factor, my cost value coming out of CAMA to create a factor. And then, these absolute deviations and stuff are just something that you learn in mass appraisal or the Excel class, how to compute these numbers and the COD and things like that. I can absolutely send you, email me. Did we put my contact information up?
I don't know if we have. So
Let me see.
just
Uh,
yeah, just to let you guys all know, I have, all your registrations for this webinar. So Jeff, if you just share me that spreadsheet, I can send it
there you
out
go.
and upload it to the
Can,
group. You also right now can download I put a couple PDF files in the chat throughout the session that were some PowerPoint slides that Jeff had made for the state conference. Those also, you can currently download those in the IPAI student portal as well when you go to your current learning and go to webinars and find this webinar. But yes, we did record this session because I know this was a lot of information that people may want to refer back to as you work on your own data in your own offices. So yes, just give me a little bit of time. It might be a few weeks before that gets uploaded, but we will notify you when that is available too. So yes, I know
yeah. So
there's a
if you want the spreadsheet or if you want the quick toolbar, I can email you both of those things so you can have that and upload those. That quick toolbar is really really helpful. So feel free. Can you see my contact information up there?
yes, yep.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions? Well, we'll stick around for a couple more minutes if people still have questions, but otherwise, thank you all for attending today. And we will have our next State Conference Rewind webinar next month on September 23rd, where we will be joined by Bob Becker presenting his State Conference presentation, Understanding an Appraisal Report. So we hope to see you then.